Okay, Excellence community, this is my quick overview to share with y'all. I'll try to keep it under 5 minutes. Mega tree, snowflakes over windows, what I call the street band, and some little mini trees, rows of wreath on the main window outlines, and vertical and horizontals along the roof line. So I'll make it real fast. Big thanks to one of the local community members who's just recently got out. He actually sold me the tree and the band and the snowflakes. Oh yeah, there's a matrix on that window. Quickly go over the tree since I'm right here. You can see the guy wires. They come out pretty far. So I've got 4 guy wires, and all my anchors are these spiral style, where you can actually take this top off, and then there's a hex built into here where you can use your driver to put it into the yard. I did that. There's we've got the bolts and cables and everything like that going up to kind of a lug partially up the ASAP pole. I don't know if you can see that too well, but you can see 2 on one side, 2 on the other side. 72 nodes up and then down per channel. You can kind of see how that's going on there. Matos brace. I didn't secure it very well. I've got a slant in the yard, so I'll figure out a better way to kind of balance that out. Yard stakes kept pulling up with the wind. Nothing crazy. Around the base, I have 8 points, but I only used 4. 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Those are from Amazon. They came in a 4-pack for 40 bucks, I believe. To control it, it's an F32. It's one of the earlier Culp boards, and then underneath you can kind of see the beginnings of some breakout boards from some of those HP power supply, the 750 watters. So 16 channels go to the tree. There's 32 strands and 2 strands per output. And then I've got basically a bunch of extras, but 1 goes up to the star, and then the other 3 go to my yard band over there. You can see my extension cords. They go that direction. Here is the input that comes from my network switch, which is, okay, so these 2 windows are actually the garage. So you can follow my cables here from the tree, and basically just goes right around the corner. I would take you in the garage, but it's just a big nasty mess in there. So it goes around the corner, and then basically in this corner is kind of like where my work table is. I've got a router switch sitting on top of a little bookshelf, and my FM transmitter both sitting there. This is actually the master, which is an F30, I'm sorry, Culp K40. So I've got the K40, I've got a receiver, power supply, I've got a dedicated 5-volt power supply for the receiver, and I also tapped some of the power for this, old USB splitter. Audio comes out of the splitter as well. You can kind of see right here this, the sound blaster, and the, I think it's a Hosa 25, maybe 35 foot, 1/8 inch TRS cable. And that goes again around the corner into the garage, and then the FM transmitter is just on the other side of this wall. My verticals are pretty simple. They were last minute, leftover PVC, and then this mesh netting, Tenex, I believe is the name of it. It's from Amazon. If you look at some of my previous posts on the Facebook page, that's what I did this little matrix out of last minute with some, quote unquote leftover pixels. Depending on which vertical section, sometimes they, come out of the controller, the receiver, and then go up and then feed the roof line, and then, various roof lines kind of come up and down. The tree outlines are your Viscoio Chroma Trim, the version 4 stuff, and they're mounted to the house. So the frame is really just kind of either pressure fit or loose in the window, but I've got those, you can kind of see, I'll zoom in a little bit here, see if it helps. See these little clear, or these silver discs are those fancy name for those rare earth magnets on Amazon. And I basically just screwed those straight into the top of the PVC, and then they are holding on to the steel struts there in the top of the window frames. And that is what I did with all of the window frames. And I also did it with the Rosa Wreath over there. I'll show you that in a little bit. The Matrix made a little frame put it on 2 legs, and this again was last minute after the window. So all I did was just zip tied it to these little support struts that are in the window frames. And you can kind of see, I'll zoom in, the magnet there, as well as on that side. As far as the snowflakes, how they're mounted, nothing crazy. I put all, you know, these little U-shaped, not really U-shaped, but you'll get the idea, little standoffs with PVC. The previous owner who sold me a lot of the props had already had these for his, and they were kind of mounted on his roof line a little different. So what I did was I took, you kind of see the little zip ties there. I took those zip tie mounts that you can get from Home Depot, Amazon, whatever, hot glued those to the wall, and then just put 4 of them, if you will, per snowflake, and then just sat them in there. They've held up, no issues at all. I mean, these are only 48 nodes, so they're pretty light. As far as the outputs are concerned, you know, the output comes to the window, thanks to the knee Christmas lights and John Spiker for their power balancing, self-power injection lessons online. But basically 150 nodes for the window, power balanced, and then I feed an extension up to the left snowflake, connects to the center snowflake, connects to the right snowflake, and that one just kind of, you know, dangles in the wind there. You can see the output. And all 3 windows are essentially the same exact configuration, where input comes in on the left. You'll see an extension go up to left, center, and right snowflake on all 3. As far as the matrix is concerned, its controller is 2 receivers. Kind of, these 2 are older Falcon. Just some of the windows, I think, in the outlines, I'll have to double check. Basically, I've got this extension going back to the other window, as well as a vertical around the corner, and then 5 of these last 5 outputs are actually going up to the matrix. Last minute, again, just made it really easy. I just kind of zigzagged them up and down and gave each 100 pixels their own output, just to make life simple, easy, and not having to do any power balancing or power injection. You know, all of them are just running off the one, you know, standard power supply there. Again, one of the outputs from this box goes to that window and snowflake, and then the other one, this vertical section on the house, is just by itself as well. And it comes off of that same box that's around the corner, bringing extension, and it just goes up and just, you know, is done right up there. The roof line kind of goes from this corner, if you will, and that's the end of the data, if you will, and then up to the apex and down and around this little pattern, and then just drops down to this receiver. This receiver covers my door outline, which feeds into the window. Again, power balancing built into the door, power balancing built into the window above the door. And you can kind of see some of the wiring that I did using that, you know, Home Depot 100-foot stuff, you know, and then using pigtails, etc. So I think this is the first node, drops down, comes back up, goes across, down, and I think that's the last node up here, and then, you know, fed the power balancing stuff over this way. Again, you can kind of see a little up close what I did with those magnets. These are what I did with all the windows, but I had to make this little standoff for the doorway so I could actually use the doorway. So this one I just took, this was just a piece of wood from a, oh, what are those called? Whatever, just a crappy piece of wood. Screwed it in there, holds on real nice. Again, this one is mounted the same way. You can see the magnet up there, just dangling, nothing fancy. Differential receiver out here. I think I'm only using 3 of the 4 outputs. one takes care of the door, the window above the door, that roof line, and this section of the roof line, which goes around and then drops down to that vertical section. Now, as far as how the roof line is mounted, it's J-channel. Took it through the drill press, and then what I tried to do, so I'm not drilling as many holes, is the soffit, it's a vinyl underneath. About every 3 to 4 feet, I'd get these vent holes. And so what I tried to do was, let's see if I can find one. Every time there was a vent hole area, I would run these little screws up into an existing hole. Nothing fancy. And then, like the apexes didn't have as many vents, so I had to, you know, drill one hole so you have some vents at the top. So I put one somewhere in the middle, and then the one in the bottom, I had to drill a hole as well. Those will stay up year round. All right, for the Rosa wreath, this one controls the window, house line, and the snowflakes. This one is for my Rosa wreath. Really, just the Rosa wreath is only using one output. I used those Inspire Lights 3D printed mounting brackets, but had an individual from the community print them off for me, and then just made a cross beam, and then used a T section right here to drop magnets in up there. You can kind of see the little shiny section behind that elbow. The elbow and the T are actually, I've got a screw, so obviously they don't come out. You can kind of see that screw right there. And then just for safety, I just left a little leg just in case a little extra weight was needed to support it. Probably overkill. I mean, it hung on its own. I didn't really need it, but whatever. So this is only one output. It has two, so just again, last minute kind of thing. I just threw a little zip tie on anything that was a power injection. Just see some power injection tees in there. I think every 250 is where I put them. And you see the wired watts, you know, love there. I just used my regular pigtails, but I zip tied these out of the way so they wouldn't, you know, touch anything on the board. Probably not the best or safest. I'm sure there's an electrician out there that's gonna call me out for it, but please do. Rightfully so. It's a lot of last minute additions. Yeah, so really I only wired two outputs for this. I only used one. So I knew if I power injected, I could use one using the Culp controller and then the Falcon receiver. And it was only 700 nodes, so nothing too crazy. The tree, oh, I'm sorry, this receiver is also powering my 3 mini trees. So I sent a little wire that I made. These are all power balanced as well. You can kind of see where some of the top and the bottom connect there. Just staked into the ground. I put them on a 2x4. Again, I have a kind of an unlevel yard. You can see how it slopes, and just use these little L brackets to keep them in one place. Secured them from the wind with a little bit of love from, you know, Home Depot stakes. Drilled a hole in them, zip tied them through one of the, you know, just kind of loose. I mean, they worked. They're the 360 degree wraps, but I only used, you know, 50 to make it a 180, and then the standard, you know, 20 node stars. Let's go to the band. So I have them in groups of, or there's only 3 outputs controlling. These are in one output paired together. The tree is in another, and these are in the third output. You can see my wire here where they're power balanced. So the first node comes in, and, you know, again, using the guts of some of this Home Depot, you know, cord, you know, rip it out. And I would obviously try to use as much of the black and white as I could, you can see here. But then I ended up with a bunch of this green left over, so I just put a little heat shrink on one. So that's my live wire, if you will, my hot and neutral being the unmarked one. Power balanced it to the end. This one doesn't go anywhere, so it just stayed dangling just on a simple PVC frame that the previous owner made to actually sit on his roof line, but for me it just worked in the yard. Nothing crazy here, people. All pretty simple. Again, the F32 in the Megatree, and then the K40 up in the corner of the house. That is the master. This is the remote. And they are wired through a network switch. I just send a Cat5 around the corner, just inside the house. Network switch just on my workbench here. K40 goes around to it. F32 goes up and around to the network switch as well. And the network switch is actually right next to one of my mesh routers for the home network. So I've got a little 6-foot cable going into the home network, so I can use my phone to control it during the day. You know, if I'm on the Wi-Fi, I can just type in the IP address and then stop the show or run tests from the yard. Or if I'm in a Zoom room, you know, I can walk my laptop out in the yard, and which I did multiple times, to have my laptop in hand and test things while they're walking me through all my stupidity, and got things working that way. It was great to be able to connect to my Wi-Fi, but also have everything wired and not interfere with the home network. So this was my light show. Hope you enjoyed the video.